And we're back. Backyard Millionaires podcast number 8. Had a little break. Today's podcast is called Weathering the Storm. Irma. Weathering Irma.
Right, exactly.
Right, exactly.
And for some of our friends.
Brought to you by Florida Power and Light and Duke Energy.
Right.
Who everyone loves right now. Yes, we're back. How you doing?
We are good.
Yeah?
I think we made it. It was definitely an intense storm and
we're
scary.
back and our backs hurt from
Yes.
all of the cleanup that we've done.
Yes, we burned a lot of calories over the last week, and a lot of our clients were burning a lot of calories. And there are debris fields everywhere.
And the entire Central Florida area. As you guys know, we're from Central Florida, so we just finally got the kids back in school after getting a week and a half off because of Hurricane Irma. Yeah, we're lucky kids.
Hurricane days.
Not a lot
we
of
always
working.
say we don't need any hurricane days, and apparently we do.
Yeah.
We need 6 of them.
Not a lot of working days going on here. But so, anyways, we were hit with Irma, but we definitely did leave a path of destruction. Not so much where we are, but the Keys. So we're sending out, prayers for the Keys and
Florida Keys
all those communities
have been decimated. Oh my gosh, it's been bad, really bad. But we did have a couple things that were kind of funny. I think your brother came to the rescue for us with a beautiful, huge, brand new, mind you, yellow.
Bright
it was
yellow.
It was basically
we call it
like
Bumblebee.
Yeah, it was a bumblebee, and it was also come like, look at me, come steal me. I'm
know.
yellow, and I'm loud, and I'm proud, and anyway. So
we did have a generator. Thankfully, thank you to my brother. Shout out to Steve for that,
yes,
because we were able to have our refrigerator, and then we discovered.
Well, I just was like, you know what? Why don't I go ahead and check out our DSL? Everybody else is complaining about their cable being out and their internet and high speed.
The
and
kids
I thought,
are with no Wi-Fi.
I said, you know what? I bet you our DSL would probably work. And guess who came to the rescue? CenturyLink. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But so we had no power, but guess what? We had internet.
We did. So we were able to work a little bit. And we really weren't out of water for too bad. Crazy though, there was no food on the shelves. Even now, and we are a week out since actually 2 weeks out since the Irma hit this Sunday.
Correct, yes.
But there's still not a lot of food in the grocery stores, which is crazy. We finally got gas back, so we're hoping to have the groceries back. But during the week prior to, it was almost impossible to get groceries. It was like Armageddon.
It was. It actually was really eerie. Every time we went into the grocery store, and you'd go in there and there's nothing left. I think the funniest picture was there was a cold section, and everything was bare except for the vegan
organic
food.
Yeah,
it was the vegan food.
Even
during
a hurricane.
Yeah, I guess no
People
one's
don't
gonna be
wanna eat.
vegan.
Yeah, no one wants to eat vegan even during a hurricane.
And we're not hating on vegan lovers, but we just thought it was interesting.
Apparently, it's not a go-to food for hurricane survival kits.
Yes.
So basically today, we said that we're talking about weathering the storm. It really got us thinking,
right.
Preparing for this hurricane and weathering the storm, and thought about how much it would be a good podcast for you guys who will weather storms. So for us, how did we do it? We really were prepared. I was a little freaking out, not too much.
A lot.
But the reason why was because, social media was getting you freaked out, and, like, oh, there's no chicken.
Get off Facebook and Instagram. I said, put it down, baby. Just put it down.
But we did. We stocked up. Thankfully, I forced the issue, because had we waited, there would have been nothing.
Okay, well, let's be real.
So just saying.
On a Tuesday, the hurricane was coming on Saturday, and really we didn't even really know. We were like, we knew some things were happening. Mama's intuition over here was like, it is coming. It's coming right through Orlando. But all of a sudden, on a Tuesday, I'm looking at the gas station, and there's lines of cars getting ready to get gas, and I'm like, you have to be kidding me.
Tuesday,
we all have to work this week, people. So anyway,
so
I thought that was funny.
People re-upped on gas, which was crazy, but we were good. We had gas. We stocked up on food and water. We did prepare also, for the longer term by, making plans with a friend so that we could stay at her house if we were going to be out of power longer than just 2 days. The poop
situation.
Yeah,
yes.
Just in case it was more than a couple of days, we could go to her place. So we kind of had a short term and a long-term plan. So
Yes.
what do you think? Did we weather the storm?
I think we did weather this storm. I think, obviously we planned accordingly. I think that we were prepared from about 12 years ago. We had 3 hurricanes come through Orlando. And so we kind of already expected
Knew what to do.
We knew what to do. We knew, I'm born and raised in Orlando, so we are used to this. But at the same time, you have to understand that you're like, okay, I have 1 week. I need to really plan for 1 week.
Right.
And 1 week is, gas and food and water. And so you do your best. And let's just be real. You really drastically underestimate
How long
anything's going to be,
there's
really.
still 2 weeks out people that don't have power here. And if you think about it, and that's what brought this whole weathering the storm business, is sometimes we prepare in the short term, but then we don't really know how long these storms are going to last, or how long the aftermath of a storm would be. And so I'm sure that these people did not prepare for 2 weeks with being without power. I know they didn't.
And those are the people that are really the screaming the loudest, and we get it and we understand. That it's unbearable when you're knocked off of your regular schedule. You're used to your power and your AC, and it's 100 degrees outside, and so you get it. But at the same time, it is definitely one of those things, like in business, and it really just all comes back around to business. Is, are you weathering the storm?
Well, what would be so? That's what the podcast is about. So what would
is
be...
it about weathering this storm? I thought it was just about Irma. We're just going to
talk
about Irma.
Yeah, it's kind of a boring. Okay, so what would be some examples of weathering a storm in business that they would need to think about and prepare for?
Well, obviously, I think that some of the big things is your financial.
What about what we've done? Let's maybe some things that we've weathered.
Like what? What would you think?
Like maybe just being prepared for losing an employee.
Yeah.
That you might not be able to. Property damage.
Right. All these things, as we're cleaning up our yard.
Yeah,
putting all these hours in and cleaning the pool. You start really thinking about it. Weathering a storm can be, figuratively speaking, can be those things. Did you forecast enough money for paying your bills when you first started your business? Did you really forecast that?
What if you have a slow month?
You have a slow month, your sales are really low. Exactly.
In fitness, for us, when we first started, we thought, well, we should prepare for summer.
Correct.
Just in case it would be a bad month.
Right.
But if you're not prepared for that and you just roll on into summer,
it slaps you in the face a little bit.
It could be devastating if you don't have money saved up for that.
But hiring people, maybe you have a storm could be you have a key employee that comes to you and just says, hey, I'm out. I gotta go. I'm looking for another opportunity. Now all of a sudden it's like, you're freaking out a little bit, or you've done enough planning for that storm where you have enough resumes that you've always kept on to. You have somebody in mind. That's why you're always, quote unquote, being a Boy Scout. You're preparing. You're being prepared. What
about all these people we talked about Key West earlier? There's a lot of small businesses down there that are just gone.
Yeah.
That's like on so many levels. You're preparing, and employees don't have a job. They don't have the business. So,
in Houston too, Houston is
right. Our locations, and
it's
Houston,
like it's the flooding aspect where the Keys has just been they're just blown off the map, and then in Houston you're flooded out, and now you got to replace everything, and so people don't realize, and I think most people do, but I don't think a lot of people don't really think about. These small businesses are what employs people. They're the keys to economics. It's when you don't have that small employer that's selling you the bread or the gas or whatever that's just sustaining you and your comfort
They're
zone.
Key to local communities, really.
I mean, the AC guy around here is running around making some good.
Entertain, where we go to the movies, where we have dinner with our friends and families. Small business, for the most part. Especially if you're in an area that doesn't allow for a lot of chains to come in, and that's a lot of mom and pop.
Right.
But even the chains are owned by moms and pops. It always frustrates me when people say, buy local, buy small from the mom and pop, meaning don't buy from the franchisee or, like a franchise. But they don't realize the franchise is owned by a mom and pop.
And they're probably
goes to your school.
Exactly. Their kids go to your school.
So always remember that. Most people don't realize these things until those businesses are gone. Though when you say, you looked around here even though the storm was over and we were doing the cleanup and everybody bought all this food, they were like, "Oh, we need to go out to eat somewhere because we don't have any way to cook it." Because
everybody who's listening,
yeah.
listen. It was the funny, just vision. If you can visualize the local Taco Bell with at least, no exaggerating, in the middle of the night, around 100 cars.
Easy
100 cars.
After all these people had prepared for the storm.
Exactly.
With food and water.
Because apparently they prepared because the grocery store, there's nothing left.
But they need Taco Bell. Small business.
Who doesn't need some Taco Bell,
So there was
right?
a time when somebody that prepared or was able to get electricity had a generator. That franchisee of the Taco Bell had a generator, was able to run their business, and made hand over fist. Another friends of ours that own pizza places, and they were able to. They had electricity, and they made.
Don't tell anybody. They had electricity. They're on the special grid.
They did, but they made more that day. They had a record week just based off the fact being prepared to be open when other people were shut down. I thought it was a really good point that, we had dinner with them the other night, and they were talking about how, both of our businesses, our business in town, we were open on Tuesday. I mean, no one was open all week, and
hurricane came through late Sunday
night,
and
Monday.
Pretty much Monday early morning, pretty much all day Monday. We had
so really the
storms,
first day after the hurricane, we were open. We were like, let's do business, and the same with them. They were open as well, and they made so much money because people wanted to eat out, even though they prepared. But that's America. And they were the only place that was open. The only place that was open. And so when you're prepared for the storm, you can win in that way. They were prepared. They knew it was coming. They were like, we're going to be open. Other people were not open. They made hand over fist.
And being prepared can be, hey, power might be down. Maybe we're going to have to be all cash. Being prepared is, do we have a generator for our refrigerators? Make sure that food's not going to be spoiled and stuff. So there's all these types of things. And believe me, people, everybody, you're not going to think of everything, but if you go through it enough times or at least a couple times, you really understand. You're like, okay, these are the things that we have to be prepared for. And we did that too with even our one of our fitness locations. We ran up there and we got it prepared. We got it all buttoned up and said, okay, we'll be back on Tuesday. Don't flood.
Well, right. So it's taking it back to business and what they're listening for. It's starting out. Everybody knows you need to have a certain amount of money. I mean, most people know. You need to have those reserves in place when it comes to starting your business, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say that you have the minimum, right? Which everybody says, 3 months, right?
Everybody says 3 months, exactly. It's kind of like the norm. Do you have 3 months of savings saved up that are for quote unquote bills in your lifestyle?
So then what happens when it takes longer?
You freak out.
That's a storm.
There's a storm. Yeah, you freak out, and if you're doing it correctly, you should already be forecasting that maybe this is going to get stretched, and then
just in case
you're going to have to either dip into more reserves, or you're going to have to go and find some other funding, or you might have to just go get a job and just figure out how you're going to make this happen. But that's also being strategizing on if you are going to start a new business. How are you going to do this?
How are you going to weather the storms?
Absolutely. And by weathering that, like we keep saying, is obviously a lot of it comes down to money, because I think that's kind of where the storm can feel like a hurricane. It's one thing if you lose an employee and you got to jump in and weather that little storm. Right. To me, that's more like just a bad thunderstorm for a couple days. But money is the essence of your sustainability and your growth of your business. So if that's not coming in for some reason, or you come up short, then that's a hurricane, at the end of the day. So, but all these types of things you have to think about. The other day I was with our pastor, and we have our Tuesday afternoon session. Our kids are on the same soccer team, so we discussed that. Churches at the same time have that same thing that they have to deal with. They have expenses, and I call it the nut. What is your magic nut that you have to crack every month? And depending upon what kind of business you have, that nut can be very large, or it could be a small nut. So it's those types of things you have to think about.
So what's the takeaway that we're gonna talk about today, as far as for them to be prepared when they're weathering the storms? What's like the top 3 things that, as a business owner, you're starting a business and you're saying, okay, fine, we're talking about these are the storms that could happen. How are they, or what are the most important things that they need to be prepared for? And I think having a positive attitude is one of the most important things. You're because it's not, the storms are going to come. I mean,
Right.
that's just the end of it.
There's nothing you can do about
there's
it.
nothing you can do. You're not going to have a perfect business where no storms come. So you need
And you're not getting into business thinking that everything's just perfect
Right.
on the other side.
You should
Oh,
not
I
be
hate
a
my
business
boss.
owner.
I'm going to go start my own stuff. And
Yeah.
everything's just going to be answered.
Because then
That's not
you're the
gonna
boss that everyone hates.
Right. I always say, right, everybody's our boss.
Exactly. So what do you think? Top 3 things that if you're going into, and another thing is we always say is like your wilderness experience, you know,
Right. Yeah.
talking about when you're in the storm and maybe you're in the wilderness and it's like everything is beating you down and the storms are coming and coming. How do they pull out of it? Number 1 we said was be prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, positive attitude, and what would be number 3?
Oh, I think number 3 is for us, it's faith. You know, we have a lot of strong faith, and we know that, you know, the hard work and obviously preparing as much as we possibly can and making sure we have a good strategy. I've said it 100 times to our franchisees as well as, you know, friends and other business owners that we're friends with. I call it the parachute. What is your parachute? Where is it where if your hand is on the ripcord, where is it? So you always have to figure that out. And maybe that's a monthly, every 6 months type of thing that you have to basically look at and strategize and say, you know, if this wilderness just gets worse and worse and worse, when am I going to pull that parachute and say, I've had enough, I got to make a change, or 100% we got to just move on to something else. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people forget that, and a lot of people just keep on digging and digging and digging and digging,
right.
and there's that parachute. So that would say that would be the next thing is when you're strategizing your storms, mm-hmm. which any business, and this is not just someone who just started a business. This is a ongoing thing.
Oh, yeah.
And most big corporations and even middle-sized corporations and even small business, they all do that. You know, they're strategizing. But when you say that, I think it's not like number 3, but I would say that's probably the parachute.
3. I mean, number 1 would be being prepared, and,
mm-hmm.
and like we just mentioned, number 2 would be having a positive attitude to know that you've prepared enough and that it's going to take a while to get out of the storm. I mean, even the aftermath of the storm, as we mentioned earlier
right.
with the hurricane, is could be like, you know, you said your employee quits, that's the storm. The aftermath of the storm is maybe people like that employee and now they're going, you know, you have a salesperson and they're jumping ship, and so the aftermath of the storm is how are you going to deal
right.
with when that person leaves.
Feels like an avalanche
and
coming at
how
you.
are you dealing with it goes into preparing for it. So
right.
you know that your preparation plan has to talk about dealing with the storm in the aftermath of the storm.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. And I think that that's exactly what you're saying. It will. I think that we all are human and we all operate off of stress, and everybody deals with stress a little different, you know, and there could be that anxiety feeling that could just literally, we were just saying the different levels of a storm. It could be the same thing. Snowstorm to an avalanche where it just hits you like a ton of bricks. And what you have to do is figure out how am I going to dig out of this
right.
and get on the other side of it. And a lot of that is just being prepared.
And I think too, yeah, you're prepared. And also I think if you're in a storm and you're an avalanche or whatever it is, and you don't care
Snow,
to
water,
get out, and the stress is debilitating you and paralyzing you, close up shop and do not be an entrepreneur. Because
right.
if you can't handle the storms, you really need to. I mean, I think that's something people need to know is you have to have that mindset of I'm getting through the storm,
right?
No matter what. Or business ownership is not for you, and I'm sorry to tell you, it's just not because the storms are going to come consistently. So you have to figure out.
Not every day, but sometimes it feels like it.
No, not every day. It's just they're going to always come. I mean, life is not perfect, and neither is business ownership. But you have to look at it and say, hey. So what? The storm is coming. I prepared. If you haven't prepared and you're in it right now, make a plan to get out of it. And then prepare not to have that happen again.
One thing, we're kind of getting to the end of this.
Learn from your mistakes.
Learn from your mistakes. And I think that we, in a lot of our franchise system, we call it the bench method, you know, making sure that you're always prepared where if you do have a trainer that says, I'm out of here or I'm about to exit or whatever, you already have a bench already ready. It's a baseball metaphor. Us guys, we love our sports metaphor, but you have someone that's in relief. He's already there, or she, and you're ready to pop them in there with no big deal. And that's part of everything, both employees,
even if you are business
contracts.
partnerships. I mean, if you go if you're going to start a business, and you're going to have a partner in your business, before you finalize everything, you need to have an exit strategy.
Absolutely.
You have to, even if you think,
a lot of people forget that.
They do forget that. And they are getting so excited to join up partnership, and they're thinking about everything's going to be great the whole entire time, but they never think about, well, what if I want to go out on my own? Or what if this person's not pulling their weight? And it's like, you need to have a strategy of exit for that.
Everything's perfect at the beginning.
Always
the beginning. And
having the extra strategy, preparing for that storm.
Right.
As well.
Yeah, that's a big storm. It could be a big storm because you never know when that might come around and say, I'm ready to split ties, and you're just like, wait a minute, I'm not ready for that.
Or you can't get out of it.
Right?
Or it costs you way too much than it should to get out of it.
Well, all these things that we're throwing at you guys, clearly can be a storm of some sort, and literally your little sometimes I even say in the afternoon or in the evening, it's a Friday at 6:00, and I'm ready to kick back a little bit, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, or something along those lines. To me, that's like a little tiny storm that you just have to deal with, and as a business owner, that's part of it. But obviously, just being prepared. Being prepared can be a lot of things for a lot of people, but always strategizing, always thinking about that, and staying ahead of it. As long as you stay ahead of it, then you'll absolutely just get your gloves on and then fight, and you can get to the other end.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, we had a great time talking to you guys today just about weathering those storms. And please know that no matter what you're going through when it comes to your business, there is a way out. Yeah. Preparing is the most important thing. I think that's the takeaway. Preparing is the most important thing. But even if you didn't prepare, there's always a way to dig yourself out as long as you are willing to do the hard work to get out of it.
Right, exactly. So thank you again for joining us. Don't forget to look at us, like us on Instagram,
subscribe on iTunes. Give us a review if you like it.
5
stars.
Right. Exactly.
All right, guys. Take care.